Okay, so as you can see, we've got some nice woodpecker holes in the side of our house, and I'm going to try to fix these. Okay, so here's what it looks like up close. What the heck, eh? It goes in to our house, sort of. Not like... Okay, where's the next one? Not sure. There it is. Okay, that one's a little more superficial, but still. And then this thing, where are we? Yeah, right there. All right, so how will I do this? I'm going to try using this all-purpose putty, Bondo. Why would I use this? Because we've got this laying around and it seems to be interior and exterior. Let's see how it goes. So to make up some of that space if I need to, so that Bondo will stay there, I'm just going to use a little chunk of cardboard if necessary. Well, you get the point. All right, so you can see it's getting darker, but what I've done here is I've just kind of stuffed some of the cardboard that I said. I just kind of cut it into like a little bit of a piece or whatever, and I just stuffed it in there a little bit. I angled in such a way as to kind of cover to the edges. This one actually might work, believe it or not. So it's just to kind of hold, you know, that Bondo. This one, I don't know if I'll need anything for that one. And this one, it's on there very lightly. I don't know if it's going to actually work with that cardboard like that. We'll see, but it's getting darker, so I'm just going to throw it on there, see what happens. Okay, so real quick, this is obviously not the recommended way to do it, but this thing here, it says, you know, you got to clean the surfaces, you got to, you know, use the putty knife and all this kind of stuff. I'm running out of time, you know, it's getting dark. I'm just, instead of a surface, a nice clean surface, I'm actually going to use a chunk of cardboard from a Chewy box to as my working surface, and instead of a whatever, like a putty knife, I'm going to use this little chunk of cardboard from that Chewy box. And yeah, it's going to be a nice little crappy hack job, but it should work, hopefully. All right, let's see how it goes. All right, definitely don't do what I just said I was going to do, which I did do. It's much thicker and stronger than you would think. You definitely need some type of steel and or plastic putty knife instead of a piece of cardboard, but I'm in too deep now. Let's keep it going. So you're supposed to use this little hardener thing, like a little strip on top of it, and mix it all together, which I'm going to do right now. I don't know if you can see, but I just pour a little bit of hardener on there. You're supposed to pour pretty much like a little thin strip across like a 3-inch diameter area, and ideally this would be, Bondo would be in a circle about 3 inches in diameter, whatever, right? I'm just going to mix it together. So theoretically a little bit of the hardener along with the Bondo. I got to go quick because it's going to harden. We'll see what happens. Okay, it looks pretty good. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to put it on there before it hardens totally. So since the last portion of this, even with a crappy job that I did with the Bondo and all that, and I stuck it there on the cardboard, subsequently I even looked it up and they said you don't put it on cardboard, there's resin issues and all that. It still worked. It was pretty solid. It actually worked. But here's what happened. When I was going to work the next day, when I was leaving, I was coming around the corner and just kind of glanced up just to see before painting how it was going to look. And what do I see? This little guy, he's doing it again. He's pecking away. He was drilling in there. The woodpecker did it again. So here's what we got now. So if you check this out, so here was my previous fix, right? Here's my previous fix. Brand new hole, previous fix. Brand new hole that he did by the time I got back from work the same day. He did it again. So now what do? What are we supposed to do at this point, right? Okay, this guy, let's see if it works. Okay, so this guy, when you turn him on, an owl by the way, and the deal with the owl is apparently it's supposed to keep woodpeckers away. They don't like the owls, but when you get the owl, I guess it's a very temporary fix because they figure out, hey, the guy's not moving, right? Well, this guy, when you turn him on, and by the way, you notice he's like solar powered, right? Oh, look at that. He's motion sensor too, right? So when he senses the motion, he does this little move. You can turn off that part of it. You can mute him, right? See, mute the poor owl. But at the, at least at the beginning, you probably want to not mute him because these guys are persistent. So if you unmute him, whatever. When he does this little move, whatever, yeah, you would think it's going to work. So if you put him near the hole, I think it's got like a radius of how many feet, Jennifer?
20.
20 feet. My wife says. Okay, so we're going to see how this works. Is this going to work? I don't know. But this guy's drilling through the freaking thing. So hopefully it'll work, right? Hopefully it's going to work, and we'll see what the owl says. If it works, there's going to be a link to this guy in the description below if you want to check it out. But I think it's kind of an interesting approach. So let's see what happens. So here's the current hole. Let's make sure there's no bird in it.
Boom.
It doesn't seem to be. But so here's the previous fix. Incredibly, even with a crappy job, you saw what I did, right? It's not bad. The Bondo, it's fiberglass type stuff. I don't know what it's made of, right? Like for cars and all that kind of stuff. But general purpose, it seems to work pretty well. So now we're gonna have to fill this thing, and let's see how it goes.
Are you gonna take care of all the spider webs right behind you?
No, or maybe I don't know, man. Look at that, man. Wives. So remember what I said before about the putty, right? As far as using this with cardboard, the cardboard was too soft. You couldn't, work with it. You should use a putty knife, and you should. But part of the problem was this is like so old. It's like 120 years old, sort of, and it's so old that it was coughing dust. No, it's not. It's so old though that as we got down lower, it was so hard you couldn't use it. It was unusable pretty much. It was so hard. So I got some new putty of exactly the same thing, the Bondo, right? And it seemed to work well. Even with a crappy job that I did, they said that you're not supposed to use it on cardboard because it's got some resin issue or something that interferes with it. It seemed to work pretty well. It was pretty hard. The Woodpecker chose a spot just a little below instead of the actual patched spot itself. So I got the same thing, this all-purpose putty by Bondo or whatever, and we're going to try the same thing. I don't actually think I picked up a putty knife that I should have picked up, so I may have to end up using cardboard again, but this is newer, should be softer. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I could not find a putty knife, so we're going to have to use the same crappy equipment that we did on the initial job, right? With the new putty. So let's see if it's any different. Remember, the old one was so hard. I said don't do it because it's so hard. It's very like next to impossible to use with this because you get a bend and so on. But man, already this one looks a lot better. What if you get a mix it? I'm gonna say no. So let's just dig in. Wow, very soft, very smooth. Wouldn't hurt probably to mix it just a little bit, right? I'd probably mix it. So I think at some point I read that you're supposed to use like a 3-inch diameter, I guess, glob, whatever, right? That seems like about right, doesn't it? And for that you would like spread the hardener on top of it in a line. But it seems to me that if you use more and you spread the hardener, everything's proportional, wouldn't it be? So let's do a little bit more because we got a good sized hole, which they recommend you probably go in steps, but we got no time for steps. So let's do this, okay? And that's a pretty good thing. Look at that, nice, look at that, perfect. And it's also on the, whatever, cardboard. So let us use the hardener, which is, okay, so this is a hardener I had from the previous one. Should be good enough, right? Okay, so they recommend one line across the whole thing. Oh, probably too thick. That's all right. So apparently if you do one line without this initial thing here, it takes 15 minutes to dry. If you do 2 lines, apparently it goes down like 5 minutes or something. I don't even know what this will be, but there's some hardener left on this, so let's call it perfect. So then we're going to mix it all up on a piece of cardboard that you should not be mixing it up on, apparently. So let's do it anyway, and look at this, mixing it nicely. Oh yeah, by the way, this is my previous job from the old hardener, which incredibly worked, man. It just seems that these details are somewhat important, but ultimately just get the job done, right? So we're mixing it up nicely. Look at how nice that looks. Nice. It's perfect. Look at how perfect that looks to fill a hole. Okay, so we're gonna probably like stick some on here. I'm gonna scoop it up and stick it on here and go fix the hole in a second. I don't want to take too long because it's probably gonna start to harden as I speak. So let's see how it goes. All right, so here's the finished product. I think it actually worked out pretty well. There was like a bunch of holes, of course, as you saw earlier, and a new hole that you didn't see that I actually had to repatch. And the woodpecker has not come by since doing his new hole. Why? Because of this guy potentially. So we had to put him up here. So he made the new hole when we had this guy down here, but when we put him up here, he didn't make a new hole. So far so good. Let's see how it holds. Okay, so again, this is the stuff that we used, the all-purpose putty Bondo. I'll put a link in the description. It worked really well. It bonded, I guess, the way it was supposed to. In doing it, it still worked. The way I guess you're supposed to do it, of course, is don't do it on cardboard, do it on a better surface. The putty knife, yeah, use a putty knife, man. Don't use a piece of cardboard the way I did it. Use a putty knife, do it, with the putty knife. Oh, 1 second. I did use this actually to spread it on there. So I tried the cardboard first and not great, you know what I mean? There was like indentations and all that. So I did use this, a semi-putty knife, right? So to spread it, I could have mixed it with this. I actually did mix one batch. It worked way better with this. Also follow the instructions as far as the amount that you're supposed to put on there. Apparently a 3-inch diameter glob, if you will. Once you spread it out, whatever, glob it on there, 3-inch diameter. You pour on the hardener just across there. When I used the new hardener from the new bottle, it wasn't as runny. It just went across there nice and evenly. When I used the previous, like tons of hardener, it dried really quickly and it wasn't as good. So this actually, if you follow the instructions, it works better, incredibly. I used this to spread it. You saw it worked out pretty well. I tapped on it, pretty solid, not bad. The owl, we'll put a link for the description on the owl on there too. The owl so far seems to work pretty well. We had another owl that didn't move, didn't seem to work. The guy started drilling through the hole again. He might have pecked through it instead of drilling through it, but I wasn't seeing the actual specifics. So either way, drilling, pecking, he got through it. And so I had to refill it, so the current moving owl seems to work better. I'll put a link for the moving owl if you guys are interested. Check it out. And what else? So, good luck with your filling the woodpecker holes. See you next time.